Hey guys, welcome back to Telltale. I'm Emily,
And Greg.
and today we are going to be discussing another Shakespearean play. This one is Titus Andronicus. Really frickin' tragic.
And actually, interesting, this is, as far as anybody knows, this is his first play.
Oh,
And
interesting.
there are some people, because of the degree of violence in this play, there are
Mhm.
people who don't think it's Shakespeare. But of course, there's people who think Shakespeare was a woman, and people who think Shakespeare was some other guy,
And he spelled
and
his name
people
six
who
other
think Shakespeare never
ways.
existed.
Yeah.
So throw a dart, hit what you want.
Yeah,
You're bound to
conspiracy
hit.
after conspiracy can
Uh,
coexist, I
I
guess.
think Shakespeare was an alien
I think Shakespeare was a cat. He just
with a
had us all
TARDIS.
fooled. Just had us all fooled. A
Yeah,
womanizing asshole is what it was. Anyway.
we don't know that for sure. Well, if it was a woman, what if Shakespeare really was a woman?
But still would have been a womanizing asshole to leave their cousin who they married for some other bitch
Okay.
who wasn't his cousin anymore. Anyway, it was a complicated time.
So, yeah, Titus Andronicus is thought to be his earliest play, although the records are a little spotty.
Hmm.
It's not 100% certain, but it is. And well, the people who say that this can't be Shakespeare because it's really violent and stuff, they haven't read Hamlet or Macbeth.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
um, Shakespeare does have a lot of violence.
Even
He's got a
Romeo
lot
and
of sex
Juliet
and
has a
violence.
lot of
Yeah.
violence.
There's a lot of sex and violence all the way through Shakespeare. So don't think you're getting PG with this guy. He was pretty rough.
This is R-rated, at least.
And this one, it does get into some pretty deep, wild, weird, um, possibly disturbing, possibly content warning type
Yeah, there's a lot of triggers.
things.
There's a lot of triggers that go on with this. Whether you see it as a play or read it, it's pretty, yeah, it's pretty trigger heavy.
Yeah. So you get to do the
Oh
synopsis.
gosh, where do I begin? At the very beginning. There
Sure.
are a lot of moving parts to this play. A lot of betrayal, a lot of revenge, a lot of bullshit. So it starts off with Titus Andronicus as general in an army. They fought the Goths. He comes back with the spoils, including the queen and her three sons, one of whom ends up being a sacrifice to the gods for war. And then as he's coming to present his spoils to the emperor, Caesar dies, and his two sons are up for candidacy for emperor, but the people go for Titus Andronicus because he just came back from war and was successful and defeated the Goths essentially.
Hmm.
One of the emperor's one of the emperor's sons gladly bows out, while the other, Saturnine, however you say it,
Okay.
um, loses his shit. He thinks it's his birthright. How dare everybody go against him? So Titus, of course, is like, sure, I'll bow out. I recommend you. I will win the hearts of the people. And so he becomes emperor, and Titus gives him the Goth woman, the queen, and her two remaining sons. And then the emperor asks also for Titus's daughter Lavinia as his bride, but she's already betrothed to the other son
Hmm.
of Caesar.
Hmm.
So there's this whole dramatic thing where her brothers try to steal her away so that she doesn't have to marry the emperor because she's already betrothed to the emperor's brother. It becomes this whole hot mess of the emperor's pissed about it, and he finally is like, you know what? Whatever. You all suck. Dishonor on you, your family, and your cow. And I'm gonna marry the Queen of Goths and make her my empress then, if this is how it's gonna be. So he and the empress get married, and there's this whole, big celebration, but the emperor's still spurned by Lavinia, and so he kind of approaches the Andronicus family again, and he's just like, y'all suck. I hate you. But then the queen is like, no, 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 don't act like this. The people still love him a lot for his winnings in war. He still has the people's hearts. Do not dishonor him. We gotta kind of lie in wait for our revenge for you being hateful towards your brother, and everybody just kind of basically stealing your first bride away. So they're kind of lying in wait now. Um, but then it kind of cuts to the two sons of the queen now, or the empress, um, who also love Lavinia, or they lust after her. And so one of the servants, who happens to be a Moor, kind of conspires with them and the empress to basically start their revenge by raping and dismembering Lavinia and killing her betrothed, which they are successful.
Hmm.
Um, so Lavinia is found in the woods later with her hands cut off and her tongue cut out, so she can't say who raped and destroyed her, but she is basically a mute and just extremely depressed and mutilated. In the meantime, the death of the brother that the two princes killed is blamed on Titus Andronicus's two other sons,
Hmm.
whom end up getting killed by the emperor. But then there's this plot to make Titus's life worse by saying, "Hey, if you send us your cut off your hand and send it to the emperor, he'll send your sons back." And so Titus, of course, is like, "Yes, of course, he can have my hand." He cuts off his hand, sends it to the emperor, and the emperor's like, "Haha, just kidding. Here's your sons' heads and your hand
Hmm.
because I reject everything you just said to me. Screw you and anybody who looks like you." So then Titus kind of falls into this really crazy madness because of all the sorrow that's just building up in his life. And so he conspires with his last son, Lucian, to go to the Goths and build him up an army. And then, in their foolish haughtiness, the queen and her sons come in and try to, like, deceive Titus Andronicus because they think he's in madness right now after a series of other events and details that they are revenge, like personifications of revenge, murder, and rape. And so Titus is like, deliver me my enemies, essentially, to these guys. They're pretending to be spirits that visit him in his madness. And he's like, deliver me my enemies. And so the queen's like, sure, I'll deliver them. And so she goes back to the castle and leaves her two sons because Titus requests it,
Hmm.
to see for him to send off to do his bidding.
Hmm.
So he kills them and turns them into pies.
Yeah.
And then when the emperor and empress come to dine with him the next day to try and build peace amongst everybody, he feeds them all their children
Yeah.
and then kills everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone dies.
Yeah.
It just becomes a bloodbath bath at dinner.
Uh-huh.
Best murder mystery ever, except there's no mystery at all. They're very open about what's going on.
Hmm. So, you've got murder, you've got rape, you've got revenge, you've got mutilation, you've got dismemberment, you've got cannibalism, and am I missing any trigger warnings here?
There's no bestiality.
Oh, that's right.
They're missing bestiality. So that's
Okay.
the only
He
trigger.
missed one.
Yeah, that's the only trigger they don't have.
Yeah.
But yes.
And this is Shakespeare, okay?
Yes.
Something
None.
somewhere around 1590
Yeah.
is when this was performed.
This is some hot drama.
Yeah. And you thought your grandparents were boring and
And there's a lot of like sleeping around going on behind the emperor's back, all
oh,
kinds of other details stuff that I've left out that I did not give justice to. But yeah, this
yeah.
is there's a lot to unpack. This is all kinds of family dysfunction and fucked up.
Hmm.
And the laws of Rome were crazy.
Hmm.
So yeah.
And like I say, Shakespeare gets in other plays, he gets into some pretty heavy stuff like
Mm-hmm.
suicide and Romeo and Juliet
Mm-hmm.
and
Suicide,
madness.
murder, madness, and Hamlet.
Yeah, he doesn't pull any punches about stuff like that in his other plays. So it doesn't surprise me that out of the box he wanted to really make this big splash and
Yeah.
really blow everybody away.
Yeah, and this
Um,
is a particularly dramatic story. Is it clear if any of these characters were real or is this just mythos? I believe Titus Andronicus was a
yeah,
real
Titus Andronicus was
person.
a real Roman general, but that's kind of where it ends.
Okay. So the rest of this is just made up.
Yeah.
I mean, that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, so there's like a part of me that was like, is this based off a real story? Jeez.
A lot of Shakespeare is based on
Together.
real history,
Mm-hmm.
um, or previous stories.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely a lot of antiquity, a lot of Rome, Greek and Roman
Yeah.
um, history and myth goes into Shakespeare's work.
Hmm.
So, yeah, way more complex than a lot of the other stuff we talk about here on this channel. Very, very deep, very complicated, very disturbing. A lot of action, moves
Hmm.
along really good,
It does.
really engrossing story,
Hmm.
shocking story in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And of course, with any play, if you read it in a book, it's not going to be as good. You got to see it performed.
Yes.
And the best performance that I could find, I went on YouTube, I watched some that were theatrical groups,
Hmm.
and there was a movie made with
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
My favorite.
Who else would you cast as Titus Andronicus
It's just
than
so
Hannibal Lecter?
good. It is so good.
And he did, despite that, he did an amazing job acting. The rest of the actors did an amazing job.
Hmm.
Um, Lavinia is a particular disturbing character
Yes.
because
Of what happens to her.
she's not responsible for any of this
No.
shit.
No, it
But
wasn't her. She
she
was willing to be the emperor's wife and to bow to his wishes,
she
and
was innocent of everything
yeah,
and
her family kidnapped her.
being nice to
Yeah.
everybody, and she just got the worst
Yeah.
end of the whole deal.
Yeah. She's kind of the Christ figure where it's the
Hmm.
innocent person dying for everybody else,
Hmm.
essentially,
Yeah,
and
it's like
sacrificing for everybody
everybody
else.
else is just totally gone,
Yeah.
and she's the only decent person in the whole story.
Yeah.
But she's
The only
still,
person who survives is Lucian.
yeah.
He's the only son of Titus, and he becomes emperor
Hmm.
at the end of it. But yeah, everybody else, they all die. Everybody dies. They all kill each other.
Uh-huh. So tragedy,
Yeah, very tragic. Very dramatic tragic.
but not one that's going to leave you crying. It's one that's going to leave you going, "What the fuck did I just read?"
Glad I mean, if you have a dysfunctional family, you will have the biggest case of Schadenfreude, being grateful that this family is not yours. I
Uh,
would take my family's dysfunction over that crap any day.
hmm.
'Cause it's a weird combination of political drama as well as personal drama.
Hmm.
It's just, ugh. Also, don't get into politics, apparently. That's the moral of the story. If you get in politics, everyone will die.
It's the
Your whole
silence of the
family.
Goths.
Yeah. The silence of Rome, really. Because it's the Romans that wreak all the havoc and get their asses handed to them.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really love that Anthony Hopkins film, though. I actually
It
watched it
was.
while reading along
And
with it yesterday evening, and it was
beautiful, beautifully shot movie. The
very
beginning,
artistically
especially
done.
the way the soldiers are marching
Yeah,
in.
beautifully
I started watching that
choreographed.
and my jaw just dropped at
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Oh my God. And
yeah.
the art direction, the camera work, the color,
The costumes and the makeup is phenomenal.
it is.
And
And I don't know why you can't get that through through Apple movie downloads or
mhm,
Prime or something.
yeah,
I had to find it on YouTube.
yeah.
It should be
We happen
available.
to have the DVD, so
Ah,
I asked Joe, "Can I watch this while also reading along?" And he's like, "Heck yeah!" He set up the computer and everything, and we got it all going. And yeah, I mean the TV. So, and it was verbatim. Like they did not take a lot of artistic liberties with the dialogue at all.
right.
So it is verbatim Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
It's phenomenally done.
Mm-hmm. They took a little bit of liberty with sets
Yes.
and design, but
Yes. They
that didn't bother
modernized some
me.
things.
Yeah.
Yep. And the character of young Lucian,
Mm-hmm.
the son of Lucius,
Mm-hmm.
was not actually a character. But they
Okay.
use him as the vessel for which to view the film version through.
Yeah. Yeah, and
So,
that was cool.
yeah, which I really appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Which is kind of funny because you're seeing it through the eyes of a child, and the child's just like, this is crazy ass shit happening to my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where does this land on the scale of things?
I would put this as a top tale.
Okay.
You can't pack that much drama into a play and not have it be an extraordinary event.
And the thing that's blowing my mind is that this is so little known.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think of Shakespeare, you think of Romeo and Juliet,
The ones
Macbeth,
you're
The
forced to read in
Tempest.
college and high
Yeah,
school. Yeah.
and nobody talks about this one, and it's one of his most brilliant plays. It really is.
Is it
It's
banned?
worth.
It must be banned for
Well, yeah,
school.
I'm sure a lot of people don't like the cannibalism aspect of it,
Yeah,
and
and the
don't
sex,
care
drugs,
for
rape,
that.
rock and roll,
Yeah.
all that.
Hmm.
I can understand that. But also, I think that's why it's so little known, is because so many other things too are like Hamlet and Macbeth and Romeo and Juliet. You basically read those through high school and college,
Yeah.
through most of your literature courses.
Hmm.
Or one or the of those three
Yeah.
you end up reading. And I think this one is just so violent and so crazy and so adult, they don't want to expose school kids to, even though they're at the perfect age to get all this,
Hmm.
teenage angst bullshit. But yeah, I could see this probably being something that was banned, so that's why it's lesser known,
Yeah.
because it just never made it into school systems like all the others did.
But it shouldn't be. We're here to fight the cause.
Absolutely.
Everybody should be reading
This
Titus
is
Andronicus.
it's crazy good.
And it would, you know, everybody's rewriting stuff, rewriting Greek
Mm-hmm.
mythology and
Yeah.
stuff like that. This would be a good one for somebody to take and rewrite into a modern prose novel.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
just really, Stephen King,
Yeah.
write Titus Andronicus as a
Yeah,
modern
that would
prose
be
novel. It would be
freaking
awesome.
cool. You could even do it just with mob bosses. Like, there's so many
Yeah.
ways you could do the hierarchy of power
Hmm.
that all these circumstances fall under. There's
Hmm.
so many ways you could do this.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So yeah, it's definitely ripe for today's authors to take a new look at it, authors and readers to take a new look at this play
Yeah.
and really consider it and think about it, especially in light of all the movies like Silence of the Lambs and
Mm-hmm.
such, and Seven and stuff that really get into some extreme themes.
Yes. This is the
Shakespeare was doing it in 1590, guys.
He did it
Way ahead of
first.
you. Once again,
Shakespeare.
y'all are just imitating him.
Sign language for Shakespeare. Shakespeare.
Oh, okay.
It's true.
It
Anyway,
is.
yeah. But yeah, I mean,
So,
that's all I have to say. This is such a bonkers thing.
it
I left
is.
out so many details. You need to watch, at least read it. Absolutely watch it. The Anthony Hopkins ones would be my recommended one as well,
Yes, mine
because
too.
so artfully done, phenomenally crafted. It was a work of art.
Mm-hmm.
And just doing honor to the subject matter the way they did was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you want a good cry, want a good tragedy, or want to feel better about how dysfunctional your family is, this is a story for you.
And this is only the first of many that we are going to do by Shakespeare.
Mhm.
I don't know if you're going to join me in all of it, but I am going to explore the complete works gradually.
I'll give up on the poetry.
No, you
I
don't.
just don't love him as a
Oh,
poet. I like him
yeah,
as a
I
playwright.
get
I
it.
don't like him as a poet.
Okay. I don't know if I'll do that yet.
Hmm.
There's a lot of poetry that I skip. He's not
Hmm.
best known for poetry.
Yeah.
He's known for his plays.
Yes. So I'd be game to do his
So
plays,
if I
but
can ever find him, I can tell you what the next play in order.
there it is. I see it. The scrolls have been consulted.
Okay. Titus Andronicus is thought to have been 1588. The next one, believe, is Two Gentlemen of Verona in
Oh,
1589,
okay.
which if I remember right, that's a comedy.
Yes.
So a
I've
little
never
lighter
read that one.
fare.
I'm excited.
Okay.
I
So
have the
we'll
complete
be,
works of William Shakespeare, so
I do
I'll
too,
get
but
to crank through it.
I do too, but I want to get rid of it. I want to get some nicer editions. Mine was just a cheap copy with tissue paper.
Mm-hmm.
Hate
Yeah.
it. So
All
I'm
right.
shopping for better copies. Haven't found one of Titus
Drop some
Andronicus yet.
links if you know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah, really.
We'll
Something
take it.
not too expensive.
Yeah.
Like Folio did all of their letterpress editions of Shakespeare, but
Yeah. They're
to get
pricey.
all of them, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have that much money.
Ain't nobody got time for that except the real wealthy.
Uh-huh.
Though to have dispensable money like that would be very nice.
Would be nice. Though I have thought, because there's lots of editions of Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
There are some ridiculously expensive complete works of Shakespeare, and then there's some like the Folio Society's letterpress
Mm-hmm.
editions. But there isn't one that's reasonably expensive
Mm-hmm.
that is a nice edition of each of the plays
Oh yeah, individually. Individual
individually.
books, yeah.
I think that would be great. And so
Mm-hmm.
that might be a project for the future for Telltale.
That would be super fun.
Hmm.
Would
With
love to see
illustrations and
all that jazz.
or maybe we rewrite them into prose and do the whole series that way.
Yeah,
I think that would be great for modern audiences.
that would be kind of fun.
Keep the story, but write it in prose style rather than play style
Hmm.
so that you get all the background stuff. Because that's what's missing when you don't when you read it, you're not getting the sets, you're not getting the costumes, you're not getting
You're getting basic
the sidelong
descriptions.
looks of the characters that aren't saying anything. You're
Hmm.
not getting all that stuff.
Yeah,
You only get it if you go and see it
basic
on
context.
stage.
Yeah.
And so a prose work that would write all that into it, I think is somebody needs to do it.
Hmm. I think that would be great. And of course, modern retellings are always popular too. A great
Yeah,
way to get that across. Or
yeah,
even just turning it into prose, just
yeah.
would be great.
Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah,
So possibly for the future when we actually start publishing something, when we have money, and you can help us with that by buying from our Etsy store and our Pango store.
yep, we have a lot of great used books.
A lot of great used books, including my complete works of Shakespeare, which isn't that bad. It's just not, you know,
Greg likes his books fancy and
I like
nice.
my fancy books.
He does. So he's trying to collect fancies. But yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. Like and subscribe. Let us know what you thought of this particular play. Even the movie version with Anthony Hopkins, fantastic. If you know another version, let us know. I would love to watch some other variants of this as well. See how other actors take on these personas. So, yeah, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you
Bye.
next time.